I know they're like the heart and soul of the show, but I'd rather eat glass than watch another scene with them in it. Hey besties, and welcome back to Feral Friday. I have been pretty much a professional fangirl from pretty much when I was born. Literally as far back as I can remember, I've always had some hyperfixation in the media. Was always a fangirl. Always. To my core. I got canceled from a few fandoms actually, because I have some very hot takes on fandoms and I'm gonna share them, and you're probably gonna cancel me too. For anybody in any fandom that feels like they're the only person with certain opinions and like the fandom shuns them, this is for you, because you're not alone. I'm gonna start with my biggest fandom, the one that everyone that has ever known me knows is my fandom, the one that I have a whole wall in my home dedicated to, the one that I'm wearing an Original Run merch shirt from. Yeah, Original Run. This came out during season 3, so when was that? 05? We're talking One Tree Hill. Let me give some background on my One Tree Hill fangirling first, because this is the strongest hyperfixation and the most intense fangirling I've ever done. I was 14 years old and in my freshman year of high school, and I found out they did a charity basketball game every year. At 14 years old, I was Delulu enough, living in Massachusetts, to buy 2 tickets to this charity basketball game in North Carolina and not think anything through. I didn't think, how am I gonna get there? Who am I going with? What am I doing? How is any of this happening? I simply thought, this is going to sell out. I'm buying tickets now and I'll figure everything out later. One Tree Hill was my everything. I got to meet the cast. I got to see all the filming locations. I was Delulu at 14 over this show, and I'm still Delulu over my opinions on this show now. If you know anything about One Tree Hill, you probably know there was a ship war between Lucas and Peyton fans and Lucas and Brooke fans. There was one ship that just about everyone agreed was perfect though. Everyone loved Nathan and Haley. Nathan and Haley was everybody's favorite, except for me. There's a handful of people that I've talked to that dislike Nathan and Haley, but it's very uncommon. And if you are in the fandom, you would never speak out against them, because Nathan and Haley are perfect. Nathan and Haley are perfect. Nathan and Haley are perfect. I hated them. One of my big points is that they ended up being too perfect. Like, it was just too much. I could easily suspend my disbelief for teen TV shows, but it was just too much with them. There was too much perfect with them. I also just genuinely hated Haley as a character. I thought that she portrayed herself as being better than everyone else. This is going to include spoilers if you haven't seen the show. There's one point where she quite literally, after her and Nathan are married in high school, don't get me started on that part, she leaves him. She leaves him to go on tour. He finds her on tour, says he still wants to be with her, and she leaves him again. And then she shows up like nothing's wrong and just expects everything to be fine. In high school, Nathan grew so much as a character because of Haley. And then she just left him and treated him like he was nothing. And then when she came back, she expected everything to be perfectly fine. And I don't like that. I think that the character that he grew to be deserved better. Cue my favorite ship, which most people hate. In season 3, they introduced my favorite character, which is a character most people hate, but she's my favorite. Rachel Gatina, played by Danielle Ackles, at that point Danielle Harris, love of my life, actress and character. In season 3, towards the end, you find out that Rachel is hooking up with Cooper, who's Nathan's uncle. They break up, it's over dramatic. The beginning of season 4, Cooper leaves, and Rachel realizes how much Nathan reminds her of Cooper. Rachel goes after Nathan, even though he's married. Firstly, I do not support homewrecking. I would like to point that out, but I just love them together. I feel like as characters, they are the same person. They have the same personality. Nathan and Rachel are the same person, just male and female versions. I love them so much. I made the mistake about posting about them online, and I have gotten dragged almost every day of my internet existence since. When I say I loved them, I wrote fan fiction about them. I was on a role-playing website about them. I loved them. They were my favorite couple. They still are. They genuinely still are my favorite couple in that show. I made fan videos for them on an old YouTube channel. I loved them. I thought Haley would have been cute with Chris Keller. I really did. I thought Brooke and Melf should have been together because he loved her so much. I hated Lucas as a character in general, and I hated Haley as a character in general. I would have much rather neither one of them be on the show. I guess I kind of hate characters that always play the victim. And to me, that's what both of them are. But Rachel, my baby, I love her. Everyone thinks that she's such a villain. And yeah, she could be a bitch. But Rachel was fiercely loyal to those that she cared about. Her with Brooke, her with Mel. She would do anything for them. Absolutely anything. She always seemed to have this tough exterior, but when Cooper left her, you could see how broken she was. I related to her so much. Especially seeing her backstory, I very much understood what it was like to grow up as the ugly duckling, and then as soon as you started getting attention, just seeking that validation to feel wanted. I completely understood that, and it was the first time that I had felt seen like that by a character on a TV show. At her core, Rachel was a loyal friend and just a sad, lonely girl who was just looking for validation and love wherever she could try to find it. I could literally defend Rachel all day. I have defended Rachel all day. That's neither here nor there. I loved Rachel and everybody hates her. And that makes me so sad because she is one of the best characters with the most depth. The way that Danielle portrayed her was amazing, especially knowing what was going on behind the scenes. That Danielle was still able to deliver the kind of performance that she did was amazing. And Rachel and Nathan just would have been so perfect together. And to this day, they are the ship that I ship the most on that show. And to this day, anytime I speak about it on the internet, people that love Nathan and Haley come after me. I'm sorry. I hate Nathan and Haley. I hate Haley. I wish that Haley was not on the show. I think that the show kind of sucked after the time jump. It lost what made it what it was originally. And again, now we know that all of this was going on behind the scenes, especially around that point. Season 5 and on is a completely different show. I don't hate season 5 on. I love the Sam storyline, for example. I loved Brooke and Owen. I liked Julian, but I loved Brooke and Owen. I loved Q, and I loved Q and Jamie's relationship, and I still have not recovered from what they did to Q. But the show still wasn't the same as the first 4 seasons. I could make an entire video just talking about One Tree Hill, so let's get into some other shows, shall we? Supernatural. Is it normal to say that I hated Brunette Ruby? Because I did. I think Katie Cassidy as Ruby was far superior, and I wish she was on the show a lot longer because Blonde Ruby, top tier. I think Sam was a shitty brother. I really do. I think from the get-go, especially when he went away to college, he should have acknowledged how much Dean actually did for him growing up and that Dean really was his dad, and the fact that he didn't pisses me off. But that's not even why he's a shitty brother. Dean goes to hell for you, and you don't try to get him back? What is wrong with you? Genuinely, genuinely. I did not ship Castiel and Dean though. I know so many people did. I feel like Cass was more of just another brother to them. They found out they had a brother and then they didn't get that brother in their life and they got Cass in his place. That's how I always viewed Cass. When they showed Jody, I wish that they didn't show Alex as much. I love Jody, I loved Claire. Alex never really grew on me. And on that note, I also didn't really like Donna. Donna was just too bubbly that I wasn't a big fan of her, but I loved Jody so much. And Kim Rhodes is such an amazing human, and I would literally give anything to meet and get a mom hug from Kim Rhodes. Genuinely. Genuinely. A mom hug from Kim Rhodes would heal my inner child. Would heal everything wrong with my inner child. I think Rowena was a very good mother, but not to her biological son. Rowena was the mom that Sam needed. I think Supernatural should have ended at season 5. The season 5 finale, where Kripke planned to leave it, that's where it should have been left. One of my hottest takes, and I know it's one of my hottest takes. Crowley was always the kindest and most loving character on that show, and the boys treated him like garbage. Yes, he was a demon, but look at what the boys did to him. They got him addicted to human blood, and they turned him human, and they just let him go. He was suffering. He was a human. He was feeling human pain, human emotions, and the boys just didn't care. Dean was Crowley's best friend. Dean and Crowley did everything together. Crowley's cell phone background was him and Dean. They were so cute. And then when Dean got his soul back, the boys just stopped caring. Broke Crowley, and it broke me to see Crowley that broken. He had his trauma from his mom. He had his trauma from his son. And in the end, when Crowley sacrificed himself for the boys, I ugly cried. Also, while I do think that the show should have ended at the penultimate episode instead of having the finale, I do think it makes sense how it ended, and I don't hate the ending. Gilmore Girls. I don't like Jess. Team Logan all the way for Gilmore Girls. I think Logan is one of the best things that ever happened to Rory. I think Rory is a spoiled brat. I am not actually a big fan of Rory. I honestly think that Lorelai asking her parents to help pay for Rory's tuition was the worst thing that Lorelai could have done for Rory. When Logan's family didn't necessarily want Rory with Logan, her response was, "But I'm a Gilmore." Okay, Emily Gilmore Jr. Your mom did not do it all at 16. Run away from home, somehow miraculously get a job as a maid at an inn, which thank God they were willing to take the chance on a 16-year-old girl, but she wasn't even staying in one of the hotel rooms when she moved in there. They were staying in a shed. She did all of that just for Rory to pull the "but I'm a Gilmore"? Absolutely not. Your mom worked too hard for you to have that kind of attitude and those kinds of expectations that people just bow down to you. Most people say that Emily was trying her hardest. I don't believe it. I believe that she was just a very toxic person. She went out of her way to bully her own child. I was part of the Veronica Mars fandom. My hottest take from Veronica Mars that most people disagree with me on is I loved season 3. Could it be because I love Ed Begley Jr.? Could it be because I hated Duncan and I loved not having Duncan around? Honestly, I think it was just because we got more Mac. That's my general opinion. I loved Mac. I was in the Glee fandom, which pains me to even say. And I was deep in the Glee fandom. I had a fan blog on Tumblr. I was writing fan fiction. Glee was the only show that ever came close to my fandom for One Tree Hill. Glee had one of the worst ship wars that I've ever seen in the fandom world. When it came to Glee, there were 3 main ships that normally argued back and forth, and it was Finchel, Puckleberry, and then Saintberry. But Saintberry normally stayed out of it a little bit because they weren't as vicious as the other 2. I was Team Puckleberry. Very much so. She brought out his soft and gentle side, and I just loved them together. I loved them together so much. I never liked Finn as a character, and I feel like I've learned that a lot. I do not like the main character in most shows that I watch and that I'm part of the fandom of. Veronica Mars, I think, is the only exception. On Glee, it depends on who the main character is, because I loved Rachel, which is also a hot take, though. Many people didn't love Rachel, but I saw her as just, I guess, the same as I saw Rachel on One Tree Hill. Just a sad, lonely girl who just wanted to feel loved, but she went about it in the wrong way. And then probably the opinion that got me canceled in the Glee fandom more than any other opinion, Terry Schuster supremacy. I'm sorry, I could talk about this every day. Jesslyn Gilsig is amazing. I love Jesslyn Gilsig. She's an absolute angel. She's so sweet, but people seem to forget everything that was happening for her character. She genuinely thought she was pregnant. She was losing her husband to this Glee club and this other teacher that kept flirting with him. And she genuinely thought she was pregnant. When she found out that she wasn't, but that she was still losing her husband, she didn't know what to do. So she was scared and confused, and she went to her older sister and asked her older sister for advice, and she listened to what her older sister told her. Was it a bad idea? Absolutely. Was it her idea? No. She listened to what her sister told her to do. Does that absolve her of any blame? No. But she was scared and she panicked and she took her big sister's advice, even though it was a stupid decision. And she's not the villain. She was just trying to save her marriage. People think that Terry is this big villain because, oh my god, no, Will and Emma are so cute. Terry was the one getting cheated on. I will die on that hill that Terry Schuster deserved better. Gossip Girl can be summed up in one sentence. I hate Serena. Serena had always been a shitty friend to Blair. Okay, so you sleep with Blair's boyfriend. You blame yourself for a guy dying, so you leave town. But all the while, you know that your best friend is also struggling with an eating disorder, and again, you slept with her boyfriend. You know if she finds out, it's going to trigger her eating disorder, and you just up and abandon her, and you don't even reach out ever? Shitty person. Serena should have never been considered Blair's best friend. It should have always been Dorota. And on that note, Dorota should have been Gossip Girl. No spoilers on who Gossip Girl is here, but I'll say it's not Dorota, and it should have been. Oh, it should have been Dorota. That is another hill I will die on, that Gossip Girl should have been Dorota. Also, the sequel series was not terrible, and also the original series wasn't even half as good as the books. I'm a book loyalist. I'm sorry, I am. I did enjoy the show, but you have to view it as something completely separate from the books. I was part of the Harry Potter fandom. I'm not now, because fuck J.K. Rowling. I grew up loving Harry Potter. Tonks is still my favorite character. Apparently I just love strong, independent woman characters, apparently. But I hate J.K. Rowling and I will never support her. I think all of Twilight, honestly, in hindsight, sucked. It was good at that age. I feel like every 13-year-old should read Twilight and should experience Twilight, because at 13, you feel seen. Looking back, it was horrible. Charlie Swan was the best character in Twilight. And that is another hill I will die on. Charlie was the best character. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Cordelia was the best part of that show. Angel was the worst part of the show, though. Overall, I actually prefer the seasons after Angel left for the spinoff, so I actually prefer the seasons after Cordelia leaves, but Cordelia is still the best part of the show. They wrote deeper and darker and more plot-heavy episodes after, but I think I honestly just like it more because Angel's not in them and I hated Angel. I actually hated Willow and Oz. Watching it for the first time recently, I already knew that Willow was a lesbian and it's iconic. And it was like a huge thing for TV for Willow to be an out lesbian on the show. So the entire time she's with Oz, I'm like, but you don't love him. Because I know that you got a girlfriend and it's a huge thing that you're with your girlfriend. I know that you're a lesbian at the end of the day. I never let myself get attached to them as a couple. Maybe I would have liked them had I watched it when it first aired. But I couldn't get into them as a couple because of the fact that I know it's a huge plot point that Willow's a lesbian. I feel like they tried to replace Cordelia with Anya and I don't like it. I like Anya, she's grown on me, but she's not Cordelia. They need to stop trying to give her Cordelia type one-liners. Finally, I have a lot of other fandom hot takes. I could sit here all day with these I could be canceled over at fandom opinions. I'm trying to stick to like my biggest TV fandoms, but this is the one that will get me canceled. Quite literally, I think I'm the only person I've ever seen speak out positively about this. I loved the ending of How I Met Your Mother. Okay, so you all probably hate me now. Can I explain though? To me, the ending of How I Met Your Mother explained so much. I know they were backed into a corner because they filmed the final scene with the kids so early on. That's not why I loved it. It's not like they made the best out of a bad situation. If you don't want spoilers, leave. Because this is going to spoil the ending if you haven't seen it. Having the mother be dead just makes so much sense. Explains why Ted has to tell them this story. Why it means so much to him to tell them this story. Why the story is drawn on and on so much. It explains why Ted's remembering every little detail. It explains everything about every bit of emotion behind the story. Because he's telling them, I loved her so much and I got so little time with her and I remember everything of the journey that led me to her. But it doesn't end there. Because when I explain that opinion to some of my friends, they're like, okay, I get that, but why did they put him back with Robin? To me, it shows that in the end, people that are meant to be together will always find their way back to each other. They had their whole, right person, wrong time. They had different goals for themselves. Ted wanted to get married and have kids and have a family. Robin wanted to travel and grow her career. They weren't together and they were both able to do what they wanted to do, and then life brought them back together. The kids were old enough. Robin wasn't going to be around babies anymore, which she hated. She was able to grow her career, and then she came home. And now what? She's going to have 2 teenage stepkids that already know her as Aunt Robin and already love her. And she gets to have Ted. It's now right person, right time. People that are meant to be together in the end will find their way back to each other. And I love that. They both got what they wanted out of life and then came full circle back to each other. I don't know. I've never heard anyone else love the ending. I do. I very much do. Not just because I ship Ted and Robin, because I hate Ted. I genuinely hate Ted. I loved Robin and Barney. I think Ted is the worst. I just think that the ending was so powerful for that reason. Why the story was so important. And showing that even if it's right person, wrong time, people that are meant to be together will always find their way back to each other. Alright y'all, those were some of my hottest hot takes from the different fandoms I've been in. Am I going to be canceled? Potentially. But if you're part of a fandom and you have very differing opinions than the general consensus and you're afraid of getting online bullied over it, you're not the only one with differing opinions. You might just be the only one who's willing to speak about them. But once you do, you might find others just like you. With One Tree Hill, when I started writing Rachel and Nathan fanfiction, I ended up finding out a lot of other people liked Rachel and Nathan together because they found my fanfiction. Or I post Rachel and Nathan videos on YouTube on my other channel, which you'll never find out what that channel is. And then I found other people commenting on them saying they loved Rachel and Nathan. I found my people because I put out a very controversial opinion, and I wasn't the only one with that controversial opinion. Also, fandom itself, to this extent, is considered a little bit controversial. I know that I was made fun of a lot in school for it, but let people enjoy things. How is it affecting you if somebody else is part of a fandom? It doesn't affect you. So no, this isn't my normal content, but it's Feral Friday. I can do whatever I want, and today I felt like just talking about my hyperfixations and my hot takes from them because I've been reading Wintry Hill fanfiction before bed at night again. Haven't done that in years, and I started recently because why not? If you made it this far, thank you. Comment down below and let me know what your hottest take from any fandom is. What fandoms are you part of? I'm very intrigued to find out what fandoms other people are part of because like I know what fandoms I've been in, what fandoms I've been vocal in, and what fandoms I've been a silent watcher in. And I love finding out other people's fandoms, finding out that I have fandoms in common with people. It's great. I just love knowing other people's hot takes from fandoms, especially if you're part of the Wintry Hill fandom because like there have been a lot of things with that show from the get-go. I have a lot of opinions on a lot of things. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already and hit the bell, otherwise YouTube will never tell you when I post. It is a little bit broken like that. I put up new videos every Wednesday and Sunday and then alternating Fridays and Mondays. Fridays are always Feral Fridays, so you get whatever is happening in my head on Friday. The rest of the videos are a little more structured, I promise. I love you all and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
I don't know, but I've been told the world outside is oh so cold. So